And testing. Good evening. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, KD7CYM. The Western Washington Amateur Television Society is a group of amateur radio enthusiasts that take to the airways with fast scan television. We have a repeater located up on Cougar Mountain. We transmit at 70 centimeters. It's a crossband repeater and spits out images at 1.2 gigahertz. To find out more about the Western Washington Amateur Television Society, Google WW7ATS. That's Google WW7ATS. That will take you to our homepage. There you'll find information about our organization, and also you'll find the frequencies we transmit on and receive, and also those on the front page is a link to get you to YouTube, where we stream our nets held Wednesdays and Saturdays between 8 and 9 o'clock. Also, we'd like to thank the SeaTac Repeater Association for letting us use WW7STR's repeater 147.08 for our voice transmissions. And that's at Cougar Mountain with a tone of 103.5 for the Cougar Mountain area. And this is Dave, KD7CYM. I'll pause momentarily in case anybody has to make an emergency contact or make a contact on the 08 machine before our net gets fully underway. This is Dave, KD7CYM. Hearing none. So far checked into our net via video. KF7UHK. Jessica. Bert N7CS. Bob K9PQ. Richard K7ITX. Jim N7QO. James WU7N. And myself, Dave, KD7CYM. Is there anybody else that would like to check into the net this evening? None. Let's start off the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net, starting out with Jessica, KF7UHK.
Yes. 7UHK, Jessica up here in Everett. Am I coming through okay? Just kind of nod your head if I am. Okay, good. Let's see. It got down to 37 degrees this afternoon as the hail came tumbling down. We had a whole lot of hail. It looked like snow out in our front yard. So with that, I'm having a little bit of Bailey's Irish Cream, some Kahlua, and some Malibu coconut rum, all mixed together, and it's really delicious. It's like candy. It's like candy. You can't get drunk on this because it's just too sweet. It's too sweet. So that's about it from here from now. This is Jessica KF7UHK.
UHK, thanks for that. Let's go to Marysville, to Bert N7CS.
Okay, well, good evening, everyone. Okay, let's see. Oh yeah, Jessica, I didn't notice any hail over here in Marysville, just rain and mist and everything, but I was indoors most of the day, so maybe it came while I wasn't paying attention. What else have I been up to the past couple of days? Well, watched a couple of streaming movies. Murder Mystery 2 came out on Netflix on Friday, and then I watched the new Tetris movie on Apple TV Plus, which is a dramatization of the crazy licensing deals that happened with getting the Tetris video game license from Russia. I have no idea how true or not the movie was, but it was actually pretty riveting to watch. And let's see. Oh, an update on something I mentioned maybe about a month ago. Dave had mentioned when he got his new furnace that he was eligible for a tax credit. So I looked into that, and apparently my furnace was not eligible for it. Apparently my furnace was only like at the 80% efficiency level, and you needed to be at the 95% level to qualify for the tax credit. So no tax credit for me. So that I went ahead and got the taxes all finished, or my accountants did anyway, and that's all done for this year. First time in like I don't know, probably 8 or 9 years that I haven't had to file an extension. So one of the nice things about retirement is I can actually spend time to get stuff like that done. And that's probably it for now. So this is Bert in Marysville, and 7CS back to that.
7CS, thanks with that. Well, let's go on to the Western Washington Amateur Television Society's newly elected president in Bothell, Bob, K9PQ.
Well, thanks, Dave, and good evening, everybody. Well, I've had quite a busy day today. We, of course, had our meeting this morning, and before the meeting, I actually went out to get Sparky some food to try and get her to eat a little bit, so she could take the drugs that I put into the food, so she would be more calm when I took her to the vet. But eating has been her problem, so she ate very little of the food and was not very calm when she went in. But they, they're not sure exactly what's going on. They're sort of treating it like it's nausea. The problem is she hasn't been eating for several days now. She's been eating about 1/10 of what she normally eats, so nowhere close enough to sustain her. But she is eating something, but very, very little. So they gave her some things to help with that, to get some nutrients in her and some fluids in her, and gave me some easily digested food, cat food. Unfortunately, the first one I opened, she doesn't like. I did get a different one, so hopefully she will like that kind. But we'll see. She seems to be hungry, so that's a good sign. But she doesn't want to eat the food that they gave me. So a little bit of a dilemma there, but we'll get there. It's a good sign that, at least, as I say, that she's hungry. So I'll leave it at that for now and send it back to that K9PQ.
Thanks with that. Let's go to Richard in Kent, K7ITX.
Great. Hi, everybody. Good evening. It's nice to see Jessica and Bert. I don't see them all too often, but then, of course, I've been haven't been around very much myself either. Bob, doggone it anyway. Poor Sparky. Mika was sick. It's like she had a cold. She was sneezing a lot about 8 weeks ago, and I wasn't eating very much. Real lazy, tired, sleeping a lot. Not her normal self. In fact, we live in a split-level house, and her litter box is downstairs in the laundry room area, and so she decided that was too far to go. And next thing we know, it's in the middle of the upstairs hallway, kind of deal. So, we ended up adding a litter box upstairs, which solved the problem. But weirdly enough, now that she's all well now, the upstairs litter box is just as clean, as pristine, and she looks at it a lot, and walks around and kind of like a little smile. She's happy it's there, but never uses it, which is fine with me. I just assumed she'd go downstairs anyway. So, but anyway, no, that's crazy, Bob, and cats, and they have a mind of their own. There's no doubt about it. If they don't like something, you're not going to, hey, now wait a minute, I'm getting poked right now by, speak of the devil. So that means I'm going to have to do something like pick her up or something. So otherwise I'll just keep getting poked in the leg. Anyway, I'll send it back to net control. K7ITX, back to net control.
WW7ATS, thanks with that. And it's ID time. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, KD7CYM. Well, let's go to Covington to Jim, N7QO.
N7QO, thank you, Dave. Good evening, everyone. Wow, that's hard to follow up. Let's see. Yeah, animals definitely have a character of their own. Sometimes they can bother you, and then you pick them up, and it's kind of like they turn their back on you. Gee, well, I wonder if maybe she's thinking that litter box is for a different cat, or you're thinking about getting a different cat, and so now she's showing you at least a little affection. It's, God only knows what they're thinking, but we try to take care of them anyway. Yeah, good luck with Sparky, Bob. Man, no telling. I would hate to be a veterinarian. You can't really listen to what they say. You have to be sort of in tune with what they think, and that's a bit of a challenge. Well, I had some hail around the house here today as well. It was fairly small, but it came down rather heavily for a while. Maybe between 3 o'clock and 3:30 today, we had quite a bit. I didn't notice what the temperature was at that time. Right now I've got 43 degrees. It seems to me the temperature was right around here for most of the day, at least whenever I wound up looking. But it went away. The hail, that is, it melted very quickly. And, I don't know, drinking some of these things tastes like candy. I don't know about not getting drunk, but I'll tell you what, if you drink enough, you can sure get sick on them. So be careful there. They might taste yummy, but at least they do going down anyway. But back to you, Dave, N7QO.
7QO, thanks for that. Well, let's go on to Bellevue to James, WU7N.
WU7N in northeast Bellevue. Just so you guys know, we got some weather blowing in. How do I know? Because the 1.2 gigahertz picture at my location in northeast Bellevue is really coming and going. I go all the way from almost a really nice, like right now, I've got almost a 5 on a scale of 1 to 5 for the NTSC video, but then every once in a while it just almost completely goes away, so the wind really must be whipping around up there tonight. 7 degrees, Jessica. That must that's an interesting weather report. The weather here was windy today, but with sunshine, he actually just went around and just said, "I want a dose of sunshine." So I thought it would be to a good idea to get out, because it's not going to be like this, I don't think, for very much longer. So, well, anyway, that was interesting how this is almost like the weather of North Texas. When a cell comes through, it really is can make the weather just a few miles away completely different. My movie pointer tonight, a movie that's been out a while, it's called Ad Astra, A-D-A-S-T-R-A. Really interesting movie. I guess artsy people in the movie business didn't think it was that great, or wasn't artsy enough. And, the explosion and, action crowd didn't think it had enough explosions and action in it. I really liked the movie. I thought it was really good, a lot of subtle things in it, and just some really good cinematography in it. So I thought Ad Astra might be a good pointer. So I spotted a headline tonight, which I'm going to try and share here just so you guys know I'm not kidding. There is somebody tonight reporting out of the South China Post that scientists managed to take human embryonic stem cells, somehow join them with some kind of a microscopic creature, and you end up with incredibly high tolerance to radiation. The idea here is you're going to make some kind of a super soldier. So I saw this image. Let's see if I can get it up here, and I was thinking, what could possibly go wrong? But bonus points if anybody can tell me where this image, what movie this image comes from. And maybe I'll put up another image next time for more hints. But this was a movie, The Hint, 1968. So anyway, that's the hot news today. And by the way, Bob, if you feed me, I'll be calm before you drive me to the doctor next time, too. If that's a service you're offering, I certainly would take that. This is James, WW7N in Northeast Bellevue. Go ahead, Dave, take it back.
7N, thanks for that. This is Dave, KD7CYM. In Lake City, I've got 44 degrees and overcast outside. Well, it was kind of sunny this afternoon for a while. I got out and worked in the yard and raked up leaves. I filled up 2 of those 90-gallon yard waste containers of leaves. I can't believe the amount of leaves in my yard left over from my oak tree that from the spring that dropped to the ground. So anyway, probably have another 2 cans to fill up. It's just unbelievable. And the oak leaves, they just don't dissolve. They just stay like wires. They just don't break down. They're really tough leaves. So anyway, that was there. And then about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, a big cloud came over the area, got dark, and just a few drops of rain came down. So I was immune to the hail. So the weather then got better and the sun came back out about an hour later. So anyway, that's what was happening here in Lake City weather-wise. And this is Dave, KD7CYM in Lake City. So let's go back up to the top of the list to Jessica, KF7UHK.
To the hail coming down, yeah, we had some big black clouds out there, and I almost got my camera out because I was thinking maybe we'll have some lightning. I just set it up and let it roll until I caught some lightning, but I didn't do that, and I didn't hear any lightning. So, Ad Astra, I have not seen yet, and that movie that you stuck the picture of, I do not know what that is yet, but hopefully we'll find out later. Let's see, today we watched a movie called Westward Bound. It was a 1944 cowboy movie, and 3 of the names, the 3 top names in the movie, all just said self, so they were like actual people that were really good at doing things with horses and going to rodeos, and so they didn't even have character names; they just had their own names, and it was a fun movie. A lot of these people came from the era of silent films, but Westward Bound, it was exciting. And then I watched just a little bit of a movie called Ned Kelly, which was about an actual person way back in the day. But this movie was played by Mick Jagger, and I wanted to see what Mick Jagger looked like as an actor. And it was an okay movie, but it was kind of slow and slow and violent at the same time. So that's what we did today. Now on the animal thing, we had to put one of our animals to sleep. Our big orange kitty cat, yeah, that was Hemingway. That was the one with the 6 toes everywhere. And he was a hand-me-down from the lady that died across the street. And they told me that both our cats are old, so we knew that already. And he had been sneezing blood for a long time, and then the blood just started running out his nose. And he stopped eating, he stopped going to the bathroom, he stopped drinking, and he started losing weight. And we decided it was probably his time to go. So we took him into the vet and did what we had to do, put him on his misery over the rainbow bridge, as they say. Not very fun. But now we have a cat that walks around and eats half her food and then looks at us like, "Where's Hemingway to eat the other half?" Yeah, and it's so sad. So we give her lots of love. We force a lot of love on this other cat. So that's our solution to it, Chloe. And so that's what's happening here in the Everett House. KF7 UHK.
UHK. Let's go to Bert, N7CS.
Okay, let's see. Yeah, James. Yeah, I remember seeing Ad Astra. I think when it came out at the theater, it's been a couple of years back. I don't remember too much about the movie, other than it seemed like it was more like psychological in a sci-fi setting instead of being like a sci-fi movie kind of thing. If I'm remembering the right movie right. And your mystery movie, no clue on that one. I even tried using Google Lens to like figure it out from the picture, and Google didn't know either. Yeah, I'm looking forward to see what that is. And Bob, yeah, I hope Sparky's does better or gets better. Then Richard, what you mentioned about having 2 litter boxes for your cat. Yeah, I have that in my house too. And interestingly enough, my current cat reserves 1 litter box for number 1 and the other one for number 2. Doesn't always get it right, but it seems to more often than not get that figured out. So I don't know how it came to do that, but that's just what it does. And let's see, what other news do I have here? Oh, I think SpaceX is getting ready to do their experimental Starship launch, maybe sometime in the month of April here. So it could be maybe sometime. Not sure. The timeline's still all over the place, but it's getting very, very soon. I think it's going to have like a 50% chance of blowing up. So the hope is that if it blows up, it at least clears the launch tower so it doesn't destroy all the launch infrastructure. But if it doesn't blow up, it's going to launch out of South Texas and then kind of crash land somewhere near Hawaii. So it's going to go around the long way for their orbital flight test. Anyway, that's it for now. This is Bert in Marysville, and 7CS, back to that.
N7CS, thanks for that update on what's happening in space. And time for another ID. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, KD7CYM. So let's go to Boffo Bob, K9PQ.
Hey, well, thank you, Dave. And let's see, I had a couple notes. Hail, he must have hit here around 2:30 or 2 to 2:30 while I was at the vet. I came home to it covering my deck, and they were very large hailstones. I mean, not like Texas large hailstones, but I would say about the size of a peanut M&M, much larger than I'm used to seeing. And it just very heavily covered the deck and grass. It seemed like it melted too quickly on the street and the driveways, but it stayed there for a long time. Might still be. Ad Astra I've heard of. I'll check it out. I'll see if I can see that one. I have no idea about the mystery movie, and that's kind of interesting about the oak leaves not breaking down, Dave. I thought they all did, but I guess they just take a very long time. My movie recommendation is, it's for a science fiction movie. It's a good story. Anyway, it's called Oblivion. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It has Tom Cruise and Olga Kurylenko and a few other big names, or at least one other that's just escaping me at the moment. What you're looking at, I should have said this up front, I'm not going to make people guess this time because you're not going to be able to guess. You may be able to guess that is a Fresnel lens from a lighthouse, a very large Fresnel lens from a lighthouse. You may or may not be able to see the people in the background there. Now, it is distorted to be taller and narrower than it really is, but it still is. It's about 7-8 feet tall, something like that. And it's from the Montauk Point Lighthouse at the east end of Long Island in New York. I took that picture while I was out there for a family reunion. Okay, that's it for now. Back to that.
9PQ, thanks with that. Well, let's move on to Richard, K7ITX in Kent.
All right. That's a pretty cool picture, Bob. 7 or 8 feet tall, I think that's what you said. I mean, the scale of what the picture was showing us didn't quite match what you said, particularly with the people in the background, but I'll take your word for it, that's for sure, because Oh yeah, I can imagine the light that they need in a lighthouse to keep the boats from crashing ashore. Jessica, that's very thoughtful of you and Sylvia to get the neighbor's older cat and take care of it in its final years. I don't know. I think I have this weird thinking about cats and dogs that they're going to be there to greet us in our whatever we do after we pass on, or in our afterlife, or whatever. I just have a feeling they're going to be hanging out, and it'll be fun to see them again, along with all your friends and relatives and that sort of thing. Kind of weird to be thinking about stuff like that, but I don't know. When you're in a weird box like me right now, your perspective on a lot of things changes dramatically. So it's pretty trippy. So anyway, and Bert, yeah, no, good for being in full retirement. In hindsight, I wish I would have pulled the trigger, or if I could have, would have pulled the trigger sooner than I did. But I did retire at 61. I didn't wait till 65 or 66 or 67. Heaven forbid. I even hear the retirement age for full retirement and Social Security is creeping up to 70. I don't know. Maybe I don't know about that one, but whatever. Oh yeah, I'm glad I took it early, because I'm pretty sure I won the lottery by taking it earlier. So I mean, that's always a weird dilemma, to take it at 62 or take it at full retirement. Obviously, when you take it at full retirement, the payday each month is a lot bigger than when you take it. It's 30% higher, I guess, or 30% lower, however you want to look at it, when you take it at 62. But the question is, how long are you going to be alive to get those bigger checks? Well, or the littler checks. Because if you don't make it, and you don't even get the big checks, then maybe you should have taken the little ones. It's hard to say, so it's kind of interesting, kind of morbid subject matter. So, K7ITX back to net K7ITX back to net control.
7ITX, thanks for that. Let's go to Jim, N7QO.
N7QO, thank you, Dave. Well, yeah, I don't know. Retirement, you never know what's going on with all this Social Security and that. Some people think they should begin collecting it as soon as they can, because they may be concerned the government may make changes, and perhaps if you begin collecting it earlier, you may be grandfathered in and exempt from some of the changes. There's just no telling what's going to happen. I don't know. As for me, I was expecting to retire earlier, but they changed the retirement age, the mandatory retirement age, so I kept working. And I'll tell you what, the last couple of years really wore on me. If I had to do it again, I think I would have retired a bit earlier. Congratulations on that, Bert. Let's see. Yeah, Jessica, sorry about Hemingway. For those of you who have not seen, Jessica's cats were extremely affectionate toward one another. They would actually hug each other. It was really sad to have. I'm sure Chloe's going, where's my warmth thing here? But so my condolences on Hemingway. And let's see. Okay, the movies. Yeah, well, I saw Oblivion. I did not see that other one. That the bonus movie. I'll tell you what. I feel certain I saw it. I don't know how many decades ago I saw it. I have no idea what the title is, but it sure looks familiar. That's there was a time in my life when I used to watch movies like that. Let's see. Jim, my signal on 1.2 is probably similar to yours. It frequently fades in and out on me a little bit here. Right now, it's probably not fading out as badly as it normally does for me, but it looks better now than it did a few minutes ago, anyway. But let me reset. And let's see. Bob, thanks for mentioning what that lens was. I couldn't quite make it out. I'm having some resolution problems on 1.2, but since you mentioned that, it is perfectly clear. Well, let me rephrase that. Perfectly obvious. But I'm not sure about the people in the background. I see something that may or may not be people. I don't know. I guess back to you, Dave, and 7QO.
QO, let's go to James, WW7ATS. I got to get another ID here again. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society Net. I'm Dave, KD7ZYM. So James, the mic is yours.
7ZYM, Dave in Seattle. This is James, WU7N in Northeast Bellevue with the Western Washington Amateur Television Society. Okay, so Bert, thank you for the pointer to the movie Tetris. I actually think I saw like a trailer or pre-trailer for that, and I was going, how do you make a movie out of that? But if you've got a recommendation, then I think I might take a moment and take a peek at it. And also, thank you for the pointer on the SpaceX launch. Come on, any launch where you stand a significant chance of blowing up, you definitely want to watch that one for sure, right? Maybe that's their way to get the publicity to come in. I'm not sure. I'm going to try and share a couple images. This is fact. Okay, let's see if we can get. Oh, there it is. Okay, that's what do you call it? A water bear. That's true life. That's a water bear, right? Okay, and this is what they're like taking gene sequences from the water bear. I think I've got it up there pretty much centered. And this report, by the way, this is not like the National Enquirer. This is out of the South China Morning Post, which it is China, but I mean I think they do some actually pretty good journalism. So Chinese team behind extreme animal gene experiment says it may lead to super soldiers who survive nuclear fallout. Part though is Shanghai-based scientists says study may open a can of worms, particularly when funding is involved. Well, clearly they haven't spoken to the NIH. I mean, there would just be no problem. But okay, so here is another shot here of the movie from 1968, and I remember this movie because I wanted to see it, and my mom wouldn't let me because she thought it would give me nightmares. So, you know, I was that age, I guess, when you're easily influenced by movies. One more pass, and I'll tell everybody what the movie is. Condolences, again, Jessica. I mean, it's really tough to lose a pet like that, and animals do grieve. My most recent experience with that was a barnyard community, and a horse. There was a horse, two horses, a llama or two, and a dominant llama, and they knew the horse, something was wrong with this very geriatric horse, because the llama, who's a guard animal, that is, if like a canine comes into the area, it'll kick it to pieces and attack it. But this llama was making alarm noises, like everybody wake up, come out, look, because the horse was sick. So there's a lot more going on there than I really gave llama credit for. the horse did pass away. There was not really nothing they could do for it. It was very old. And then all the other barnyard animals were like upset, and so they were taken for walks and things like that. It was kind of interesting. I'd not been around. I've been around dairy cattle and some other horses and such, but I've never seen that behavior before. Bob, thank you for the lighthouse pick, and yes, I would have not guessed that. It did have that kind of lensy look, but my 1.2 gigahertz image isn't that good tonight. I never would have guessed that, certainly not the location, so thank you for the explanation. I'm just glad they're preserving those lighthouses, because there's so much craftsmanship that went into that lens and into that whole lighthouse structure. It would just be a shame not to preserve it, because obviously whoever built that, they're not here anymore, and we couldn't do it today. I don't think. I mean, we could come up with something equivalent, but I don't think you could come up with the exact same thing. So thank you for that shot. Take Social Security. The analogy I use on that is that's kind of like a futures contract on yourself, isn't it? It's almost like you're betting against yourself or maybe for yourself. I'm not sure which. But then term life insurance is kind of like that way too, isn't it? A friend of mine said, yes, he had great term life insurance, but he'd never tell his wife. Yeah, interesting relationship there. Well, with that, this is James, WW7N in Northeast Bellevue. Next time we're out, I'll tell you what the movie is. And you'll all go, oh, yeah, of course, I remember now. Okay, WW7N, turning it back to our net control. Dave, take it away.
WW7N, thanks for that. Well, seeing Jessica enjoying a little libation there, and we talked about the media. Well, it brings me back to my first journey I got to do as a press photographer. I joined a group of Civil Air Patrol echelons that had to go to a meeting in Washington, D.C., coinciding with the World's Fair in New York. So we boarded an old twin-engine military aircraft and stopped at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base to refuel, then went from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base into Washington, D.C., and then on to the meeting with the congressional leaders. And then I left the journey there. They were going to continue on in Washington, D.C. for a week. So went independent over to the World's Fair, where I got a freebie to go to the World's Fair and check that out. So it was an enjoyable VIP trip to the World's Fair. It was all free gratis to the media. They were doing anything they could do to get publicity to get people to turn out to the New York World's Fair. So it was a wonderful experience to do that. Then I had to get back to Washington, D.C. to get on this plane again to fly back to Seattle. But we stopped at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and at that point the humidity must have been 100%, because I remember they put us up in a BOQ, and the air conditioning were refrigerators with the doors open on them in the barracks, in the rooms, and I thought, oh, wow. But they had a swimming pool that was about 2 blocks away, so one of the other fellas and I went to go swimming. By the time we got to the swimming pool, the humidity was so bad, we were just wet, drenched from head to toe. So anyway, that was our experience with swimming at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in the middle of summer. But then the good news was we went off to dinner in the Officers Club in the evening. And libation did flow. Oh, that was a wonderful, wonderful time. And the 2 pilots who were on the plane were just enjoying the libation. And so a group of about 4 of us said, what time are we leaving in the morning? And the pilot said, I believe it's between 5:30 and 6 o'clock. We need to leave Wright-Patterson. Okay, gang, here's another round of drinks. Thanks for that information. And so about 4 more drinks later, it was kind of time to tuck in. And then roll call came the next morning. It was like, 5 o'clock. There's no meddling. What's going on? And mentioned to my buddy that was with me, he says, I think we took care of the pilots. Sure enough, we didn't get off the ground till 9 o'clock in the morning, and the pilots were not feeling too well for some reason. So anyway, that was my first big out-of-town trip on with the media. So this is Dave, KD7CYM in Lake City. So I see Ron has joined us, KD7QKU. He was there for a moment. I don't know if he's still with us or not. on to Jessica, KF7UHK.
Up to go drive a bus last couple of mornings this last week. I had to be up at the station at 5 minutes after 5, which usually means I set my alarm for 3 in the morning because it's an hour drive up there, and I want time to wake up and put my clothes on. So yeah, no, I hate those early morning things, and that sounds really fun though. I have not seen the movie Oblivion. My guess is it Terror from Beyond Space? I don't think so. I think that one came out in 58 instead of 68. Let's see. I gambled by taking an early retirement at age 55 because I had 35 years in the company, and I took, I think 10 or 15%, might have been 20% less money by leaving that early. On the other hand, I think it was only 10%. Yeah. On the other hand, you know, I was retired for 9 years before I decided maybe I should go back and go take another job just to keep my medical and stuff like that, and make extra coin to go on cruises and stuff. I started as a child. Yes, I was 19. Yes, I was, and everybody around me was much older. They all had these flat top haircuts. They all looked like they just got out of the Navy or something like that. And yeah, no, I felt like a totally a third rail there. I think they treated me like a little bit like a third rail because I was so young. Just before that, I've done a couple electronics jobs, and I worked at Jack in the Box before that too. So I was a busy bee, really fast, and they were like, "Slow down. We're a union. You need to slow down a little bit. You're making us all look bad." Because I, ran everywhere, because I felt like I needed to. Tetris. I have not seen the movie yet. I saw the commercial for it. I saw the trailer for it. But I like the music. I like the music from the Tetris game, which is very, very Russian sounding. If you've heard the music from the Nintendo, I think it was might have been Nintendo, where I had a Tetris game. So I like the music, and I sit there and play it on my piano every now and then. With that, I'm going to pass it back to KF7UHK.
UHK. Let's go to Marysville to Bert, N7CS.
Let's see. Listen, James, you showed that picture of the water bear. I think the water bear is also known as a tardigrade. And interestingly enough, what you were talking about, that article, that looks like just came out a couple of days ago, talking about integrating that tardigrade DNA to boost the radiation, or make it so that soldiers can withstand higher doses of radiation. That was actually a plot point in a new TV show that's on the Sci-Fi Channel that just started, a TV series called The Ark. So I mean, the season's still on, and season 1, I don't know if it'll get renewed or not, but there was actually a plot point in there about that exact subject. Although when you said water bear, the first thing that came to mind was there's this other movie now. I have not seen it yet, but I've seen the previews. It's called Cocaine Bear, about a bear that's like on cocaine or something, and he's like terrorizing the the forest. The craziest movie plot I've heard since probably Snakes on a Plane. So I may have to go see it just to see how crazy it is and how bad it is. But let's see. Oh, and then the movie image. So Google did a much better job on that image that you posted. So it was able to identify it as a movie called The Green Slime. I have never seen it before, and the only green slime I've ever heard of has been on that old TV show on Nickelodeon, like I don't know, something like what you can't say on television or what you can't do on television or something like that. But yeah, that's probably it for now. So this is Bert in Marysville, in 7CS. Back to that.
CS, thanks. Let's go to Bob, G9PQ.
Okay, interesting stuff. Yeah, Cocaine Bear. Have not seen it, heard about it. It's about as loosely as you can imagine, loosely based on a true story. I believe the true story is they found a dead bear with cocaine near it or inside his guts or something, and that was the basis for the movie. As for crazy movies, another one I've not seen, but the craziest one I've heard of is Sharknado. Sharknado is I just love the sound of that one. What else have we got? Tetris. I will watch that. I have not. I didn't know about that movie. That sounds like an interesting one. And Jessica, sorry about Hemingway. Man, that is tough. And my condolences to you. Interesting story, Dave, about going to the World's Fair and Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. I didn't catch what year that was. I'm curious if you mentioned that. And Jessica, the guys with the crew cuts, I know because my dad was, he worked at Boeing for his entire career. He wasn't from the Air Force, but almost all of the people straight out of the military were Air Force, which makes sense for an airplane company. Anything else do I have? I think that is it. I do have a picture to show. I don't know if this pretty dark, but you could probably read the writing. This was also out there on Long Island, actually at the town where my brother lives, and they have a carriage museum, and this was an actual police, horse-drawn police paddy wagon. So there you go, or a patrol vehicle. Let's say I was about to say patrol car, a patrol vehicle. So again, a little bit dark, but there a lot of cool pictures from that museum, but they're all kind of dark. So unfortunately, they don't translate well to the here. Okay, back to that, Kane. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks with that. Let's go on to Richard, K7ITX.
We're going to talk about old, we're talking about old movies, but in science fiction, I always think of things like The Outer Limits, which my mom wouldn't let me watch because it would give me nightmares. But they really should not have let me watch The Twilight Zone. There is probably the most scariest Twilight Zone I ever watched was, believe it or not, it starred William Shatner. It was called Nightmare at 20,000 Feet. And I don't know, when I see it now, the creature that scared that living dickens out of me just looks like a clown now. But I don't know, it was the way, that was the whole thing about the producers and the screenplay of The Twilight Zone. They could take probably the crudest scenes, but somehow just put you on the edge of your seat. And then, of course, if you were a little kid, I remember some other, after I knew how bad the scary it was, a year later, I had some friends over, some other little kids in my bedroom, and the parents were out doing whatever they do with like parents, but I'm with the kids in the bedroom, and they watched the show, and then when it was over, they told me, don't ever let us watch that kind of show ever again. I don't know, it was pretty scary for kids. But the way I got around my mom in The Outer Limits is, I had I was on the top of a bunk bed. I loved having, I had bunk bed in my house, or in my bedroom. It was just me, but I had to sleep on the top. But, and I had a TV in the room. But, as you might remember, Outer Limits came on kind of late for little kids. It was past my bedtime. But I would, I tied a string to the plug. They didn't have remotes back in those days. I tied a string to the plug and brought the string into my, up to the bed. And so just when I would hear the door start to open for my mom to see if what I was doing, if I was really asleep, I'd jerk on that string and the TV would go off just like that. And it was perfect invention. So anyway, I'm going to have to call it good tonight, you guys. And I'm getting kind of tired, so I better get while the getting's good. So anyway, you guys have a great rest of the night, 73, and it's been a big blast seeing you guys. K7ITX back to net control.
ITX, and it's ID time again. It's the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, KD7ZYM. Well, let's go visit Jim in 7QO.
N7QO, thank you, Dave. Well, Dick, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you being here. Yeah, that cocaine bear thing, that really sounds a little bit strange. My wife wants to go see that. It sounds like it might be entertaining anyway. Good comedy for what it's worth. About the Twilight Zone, Dick is probably gone here, but I remember that episode with William Shatner and the gremlin out there on the wing, and I'm not sure if it's funny, but there was one day it was on at some, God only knows what city we were in. A couple of us were in the crew room watching this thing, and one of the guys said, "Hey, does that gremlin kind of remind you of this one flight attendant?" And it was kind of, no one ever looked at her the same way after that. But it's like, oh man, I don't know. It was, kind of scary, but kind of humorous as well. I don't know. Kind of crazy. I can't think of which movie gave me the most fright. I have to think back a ways. I kind of got numb to it. Anyway, back to you, Dave, N7QO.
QO, let's go on to James, WU7N.
Okay, well, I guess I should say first that yes, Bert got it correct, or at least Bert is the Google Master of the Universe, and then you can see that in the, I'm not sure we have the resolution on the NTSC picture, but in the lower left there's a blue bubble that says not suitable for children. So I couldn't, they didn't get my 25 cents or whatever the base theater was charging back then to go see a movie. As I recall, in Japan when I was quite young, I think it was a nickel to go see the movie, the base theater. But anyway, of course, Luciana Paluzzi is probably the main feature of the movie, and you can look her up and see what she has to offer the cinematic universe of the 1960s. Other than that, I think we're getting close to the top of the hour here with 7 minutes left, and just like to thank everybody for some interesting conversation tonight. Bert, thank you for the movie pointer, and so anyway, this is James. Oh, also Bert, yes, what you put on the digital screen, there's nothing wrong with your television set. Do not attempt to adjust the picture. We are controlling transmission. And then the last sentence, for the next hour, sit quietly and we will control all that you see and hear. Wasn't that prophetic? I mean, that really was a prophetic introduction to mass media, because today, you do have about 12 corporations that I think I've seen studies that say something like 90% of what we see, hear, watch, no matter how you're looking at it, pretty much boils down to 12 multinational corporations, although I think there is some maybe around the edges that don't have that corporate approval. So isn't that really kind of a powerful introduction? I wonder if whoever wrote it really knew what they were writing. This is James, WU7N in Northeast Bellevue, with about 6 minutes left to the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net. I'm going to turn it back to David Mann, KD7ZYM, our net control.
James, WU7N. This is Dave, KD7ZYM. Oh my, let's see. My favorite horror movie, I think, was Sharknado. it was unbelievable to see all these people in the water getting munched up by these sharks, and the so-called red fluid that was flowing in the water. It was like pretty ugly, but anyway, that was it. And I think the time that I went on that trip was probably 1964. I got to go way back in time. But anyway, it was kind of interesting seeing a delegation of CAP people going and visiting the Pentagon and going to the Capitol, which it was the first exposure for me to go to the Capitol and meet our senators there and do a couple of stories with them. So it was really kind of an exciting trip. The New York World's Fair was fantastic. All of the things you could see, the rocket mock-ups that they had there for space travel. You didn't realize how big those engines were until you got up next to them. And some of the new futuristic trucks and travel equipment that was there. And then there was the Small World from Disney. That was a wonderful thing to see. And it's just a lot of things to go, multicultural exhibits, and seeing what was going on. But I think the space exhibit area was probably the most exciting for me at the World's Fair at that time. So this is Dave, KD7CYM. So let's move it back up to Jessica, KF7UHK.
I may have told this story before, but I'll tell it again. We were coming back from Hawaii with a couple of our friends, and it's roughly a 5.5-hour flight. And being someone who loves airplanes, I listened for all the little creaks and all the noises, and then when the landing gear comes out and the flaps come out, I hear all those. And we're about to land in SeaTac. We're coming down in. I'm looking out the window because I got a window seat, and I'm looking at trying to see where we're at. And I hear the noises that normally happen, but I didn't hear the landing gear to go down. And I'm sitting there going, I know the landing gear came down because these are professionals up there, and they have checklists, and they're very good at doing this. They do this all day long. Every day they do this, twice a day. I'm sure those landing gear are down, but what if they're not? And so I kind of braced for a bad landing because I'm thinking maybe they didn't come down this time, and I wanted to go tug on the stewardess's skirt and say, can you make sure the landing gear came down? But then I sound like William Shatner in that episode, and I thought, no, they're gonna have me handcuffed by the time I get off the thing if I tell them you need to go talk to someone up in the cockpit that they're not doing something right, and I'm way back on 136 C or something like that. I'm way back in the very back somewhere. So I didn't. I just held on very tight and said, I hope my seatbelt's nice and tight, because I just wasn't sure. I just didn't hear it come down. It did come down because I'm here alive to tell the story. This is KF7UHK.
UHK, thanks for that. Let's go on to Bert, N7CS in Marysville.
Okay, well, not much time left, but maybe to answer one of the questions Jim had about the most frightful movie. Probably when I was just barely in elementary school, I was at my grandma's house with my sisters, and she let us watch some TV and probably didn't realize what we were watching, but Poltergeist was on, and for somebody, I don't remember, probably single-digit age, that is not a good movie to watch, in a scary and dark house at night. And I am still too terrified to even watch that movie anytime I see it popping on TV or even the remakes that have been made. I can't go near that movie, and it's probably not even that bad anymore. But I stay away from it still to this day. So Poltergeist, yeah, that's it. Anyway, this is Bert in Marysville, N7CS, back to that.
7CS, thanks with that. Well, I guess we don't really have much time left, so we'll probably wrap up the net at this point. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. And we'd like to thank the SeaTac Repeater Association for letting us use WW7STR's repeater 147.08. with a tone of 103.5 for Cougar Mountain. So on behalf of the Western Washington Amateur Television Society, this is Dave, KD7ZYM, signing off the net at 9 o'clock. Good evening all.